Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's the Southampton Way podcast. This is episode 19. Thank you very much for joining us if you're a regular, and welcome if you're new. Joining us this week, we've got Martin Sanders, our regular, and Mike from MatchDayVlogs has joined us for the second time. So thanks very much for coming back, Mike. Appreciate your
my
time.
brace. It's my second appearance of brace. Look at that.
It certainly is.
Yeah,
It's your brace.
That's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, very impressive. Let's Mike, we'll start with you. We got a load to round up before you hop off and do your show. So we are recording this on Thursday. It will come out right in the heat of the transfer news tomorrow night, I'm sure. So Mike, as we stand, before we go on to transfers, let's talk about QPR at the weekend. What did you make of it overall? 3 points at St Mary's. It's been a while since you say that in the league, isn't it? So.
Yeah, it has been a while. I think it was our first league win since the 5th of March earlier this year. So yeah, to finally get a home win was long overdue. But it was a weird game. I thought everything before the game kind of disrupted the feelings around the ground. Weird atmosphere at St Mary's on Saturday. I thought wasn't quite as buzzing as it was in the.
Do you mean the transfers or the pouring rain?
Yeah, a bit of both, really. Everyone sort of dampened their spirits with the news that Nathan Tella was on his way and Shea Adams was nowhere to be seen. So it was a bit of a weird vibe going around St Mary's. But I thought for everything that was going on, it was a decent performance. And the fact that we had, Adam Armstrong in that deeper role again, eventually. It did look very, very good, and we were very, very clinical. I mean, we didn't think we had as many shots on goal or shots on target as QPR did, which is a bit weird because they're hardly high flyers in the scoring department. But that side of it, I was quite impressed by. The fact that we were still able to put 2 goals away, and all the goals on Saturday were fantastic goals. I think was it Jack Colbert that scored for them? I think he was surprised as anyone that went in. So. But Bazunu had a great game as well. Sort of held his own on a one-on-one, and nearly got to the goal that eventually went in for QPR. So, quietly impressed. And it's not often you can come away from the first 4 with 10 points. I'm not sure the last time we could have said that, but yeah, that was good. I was impressed.
Yeah, no, I think we all were reasonably happy, at least with the 3 points you can't not be. I think the last time we started this well was the last time we were in the Championship, which was in the 11-12 season, I think, if I remember rightly. But yeah, it's been a while. Martin, Mike mentioned Bazunu there. You're a goalkeeping man. What did you make of Gav's performance? Was there anybody else that sort of impressed you?
I was pleased with Gavin. I think the manager's brilliant. I can't speak highly enough of what I've seen of Russell Martin so far. I just think the way he's conducted himself in the last month's been incredibly good, but the way he's got hold of players such as Gavin and backed him, he's done the same with Samuel Dozie, and he's getting the best out of both of them. You can see that they're going to really, really flourish under this manager. I think he's superb. I thought it was probably our worst performance of the season, but Gav will walk out of that feeling really confident. I think he's quite a confident lad anyway. But yeah, I was really pleased for him, mate. Really, really pleased.
It was a confidence building performance for Gav himself. He does like these odd parries. He's lucky to get away with 2 this season that were both offside, thankfully, but sparing his blushes a bit. But yeah, I thought he did well. Mike, Martin mentioned there, I did want to touch on it because I thought he was outstanding in the first half. Samuel Dozie was on fire, the kid, in the first half. Do you think that Sam's, he's one of the first on the team sheet now, or do you think it's time to really put some trust in him and give him a long run of games?
Yeah, I think so. I think the only thing that's been missing from Sam Adosi's game is the final product. He's been great at one-on-ones and successful dribbles and things like that. It's just been the final product that's been missing, and he could have, perhaps got a couple of goals earlier in the season with chances that whispered past the post. So he's definitely on the team sheet for me. I mean, it all depends on what happens in the next, how many hours? 36 hours from this point where we stand in time at the moment. But yeah, he's certainly impressed and shown his quality and level, and certainly on the other side as well. I thought Sam Amior had a decent game as well. His communication perhaps quite wasn't there with Kyle Walker-Peters. I could see in the first half, I mean, basically that communication strand was literally going on right in front of where we sit. And I think there was a feeling that Sam was a little bit too far forward. But even still, I mean, for a player of that age to be playing at that level and playing those kind of performances, very impressive. So yeah, both of them. I mean, especially with the likes of Teller that's now moved on. It's it's always a worry for us to have enough talent in those kind of positions, which ultimately get the balls back into the box.
Yeah, it was a massive day for him under hugely pressurized circumstances. Martin, it's no secret who you work for. Did you have to sort of hold back your celebrations when we were scoring, or has Smith forgiven you yet? Or
No, I just wanted us to win more than anything. I wanted us to win. I did talk to him about it actually yesterday. We had a call for an hour, and we were chatting for a bit. And he was really disappointed with the goal that he let in from Edozie. He said it kind of come off the surface a little bit. Just felt it moved in front of him slightly. He felt he could have done better with it, but it was right at him, wasn't it? And I was pleased for Edozie. I just want Saints to win. It was obviously that when we're not playing them, I'll keep an eye on their fixtures and hope he keeps clean sheets and does well. But when QPR play Saints, I'll be right behind Saints. But yeah, I have to echo what Mike said about the atmosphere. I thought it was really weird outside the ground before. It felt a bit flat, and the minute everyone saw the team news, and they knew that that obviously Teller and Adams were both not a part of it, I think we all knew what was coming. And obviously the Teller news didn't break till later Saturday night, early Sunday morning, and just felt it was to walk out of it with a result was really good. But there are some standout performers other than we spoke about Bazunu. Got to give a massive shout out to Shay Charles, who started central midfield. He was brilliant. He looks so composed for his age. He's so good on the ball. He doesn't give the ball away. Obviously, Jack's injury is thankfully not as bad as they first thought. But to lose Jack, our captain, and obviously didn't want to play Bella Kocha, and Charles has slipped into defence. And, they had his hands full because the boy Armstrong up front for them was a right handful, I thought. And he kind of played off of Benderek for a while. And yeah, I thought Yam was struggling a little bit with him, that they swapped it over. I just thought the pace that Charles had, he dealt with him really well because he's a big lad, isn't he, Armstrong, for them. So, yeah, I was delighted with Shay Charles and Flynn Downs to come in midfield. He was ill, wasn't he, the week leading up to him coming into the football club. I saw a statistic a few days ago from the Sky Bet Championship stats the weekend. The most completed pass during game week 4, the top of that was Flynn Downs and the second was Ryan Manning. Unbelievable. The guy come on after 25 minutes. But I thought he was a carbon copy of what Ward-Prowse did in midfield. He kept the ball moving, didn't give it away. I thought his distribution was brilliant. Put him in there with Smallbone. Geez, we've got a really good midfield there for this level.
Yeah, I don't see why anyone has an argument. No one can argue with me that we've got the best midfield in the league at the moment. Yeah, I thought he was fantastic. Let's have a word about the new boys because like you said, Charles was brilliant when he stepped back. But the reason he'd stepped back is because Russell Martin had faith to put Flynn Downs on in the 25th minute over choosing Bella Kocha for Stevens when he came off. Mike, what did you make of first of all Flynn Downs? Obviously sat as almost sort of what he did in old Russell Martin teams, is almost sort of sweeping behind the midfield in that six. I saw he knitted it together fantastically. What did you make of his game?
Yeah, really, really good. I mean, I think the impressive thing for me is the fact that he just literally stepped into a system and knew it, and sort of somehow was able to sort of command the game from midfield and sort of look for those passes. I mean, okay, it is QPR. Let's not fool ourselves, but I think there's a lot of promise in that midfield, and I certainly wouldn't argue with you on the, having the best midfield in the league as it stands at the moment. And I think the other thing I'll make of note is the fact that this injury with Jack Stevens, of them saying it's not as bad as they thought, with him only going to be out for 7 or 8 games. I want to know, how bad did they think it was going to be? I mean, did they think it was going to die or something? I mean, was this, but no, obviously it's going to be a bit of a disappointment not to have our captain in the side for a large period of time, because that's going to take us pretty close to the festive period. but it's even with those situations that we got. I mean, Mason Holgate's come in. I mean, it's it's a great proven Premier League quality. He's Man City were after him for a while. So it's even all these loan deals coming in, I think it's we're in a decent position on that regard. It's just a case of what happens in the next few hours, really. But yeah, Flynn, great game. And I can see him sort of being a regular starter. The only concern for me is, what does that mean for Shea Charles? Because, Shea Charles is a commanding presence, young lad. We paid 12 million quid for him. He's a permanent player. Is that going to have an impact on his game time if we've bought all these, central defenders? Is that going to have an impact on how much game time he sees? But there is 46 games to be played in this campaign. So who knows? Plenty of games to get involved with.
Yeah, I'm sure he's probably not going to be short on game time. Yeah, but it's I think listening to Martin, he's quite confident that he can squeeze Charles in as an 8 next to Flynn Downs sometimes. Then you have the conundrum: do you play Smallbone or Charlie? So it's like there is a knock on. So it will be interesting. Like you said, there is a lot of games to play. Martin, there was another new boy who featured for longer than he was supposed to. If you listen to Russell Martin, what did you make of Ryan Fraser? We'd finished recording, obviously on a Thursday as we normally do. We go out the blue and sign two players. Holgate was rumbling about, but I mean, Ryan Fraser came out of absolutely nowhere last week. He had a lot of doubters. Me being one of them in quietly, sort of just because of the attitude and stuff that you've heard about. But after listening to interviews, I sort of felt, well, you got to give someone a go anyway. But what did you make of him when he came on, given that he hasn't played in so long?
I was a bit like you, actually, when he signed, to be honest, Josh, because I thought, is he really the sort of like Russell Martin player? Because I always thought he was a sort of winger that wants to go past players, keep the ball, dribble with it. And Russ wants his size to continue to move the ball. And I thought it was an interesting signing for me. But I thought I think he'd be a squad player. I don't think he'd start every game, but I thought he was really good. He changed the game. The thing I love about this manager, he makes changes that influence the game. It's the first time we've had a manager do this in such a long time. He comes in and he makes changes and it wins us games. And he's done that in several games now. He's obviously brought Adams off the bench at Sheffield Wednesday in that opening game, scores the winner, things like this. I was delighted when he came on. I thought it was a brilliant debut from him. If he can keep performing like that, he'd be comfortable at this level. He's Premier League proven. And I think hopefully he'll fit into the squad well. I heard a lot about him as well, like you. I'm pleased about Holgate. A lot of people were really sceptical about Mason Holgate. Obviously, I spoke to Asmir a lot about him because he obviously trained with him every week last season, the last 2 seasons. So he knows Mason well. He said he's brilliant. He said he's really good professional, works really hard. He said he's good on the ball. He said that he'd be a really good addition to us. He just thinks it's a steal to come down and play in the Championship. He said he's Premier League ready. So I think he'd be a really good signing. We're going to need Mason Holgate now, but I believe there'll be, we'll talk about it a bit more in the transfer chat. But yeah, there's more talk about central defenders as well, which we can touch upon.
Yeah, and we certainly will. We'll even go over the guys who've come in a little bit more depth. But Mike, what did you just so it's fair? Everyone has to say. But Ryan Fraser, were you as shocked as everyone, and were you pleasantly surprised when he came on?
Very pleasantly surprised. I think a lot of the chat that I'd had with a lot of Newcastle fans and a lot of Newcastle fan channels were, Ryan Fraser is a bad egg. Shouldn't be anywhere near a squad. He's, doing all those kind of things. And yeah, it shut me up within about 36 seconds or so, pacing down that left side and had 2 really rapid balls come into the box. And I was thinking, okay, yeah, I can see why this has happened. But he's going to have a point to prove, He's basically been shut out of one squad and is really going to want to make sure that he's seen in the best possible light. And I kind of think he's, if Russell Martin sees there's benefit in having him here, then I'm on board. He's not been wrong about anyone else so far. So why would it be any different with Ryan Fraser? So yeah, very positive start.
Yeah, not half bad at all. Not half bad at all. Ryan Fraser is an interesting one. on many fronts because, like you say, I'm like I was the same as like, right. Well, Wilcox and Martin haven't got too much wrong so far, if anything. So let's roll with it. And yeah, pleasantly surprised. I think if we do get a proper number 9 who just likes to sit in between the defenders, and just stays there. I mean, the balls that Fraser was fizzing across the area. I mean, a proper number 9 would be licking his lips. Unlike I believe it's Sekumara come on at similar or same time, so it was a bit sort of touch and go. But yeah, I think he's going to be a great addition. I mean, any Championship club would have welcomed him with open arms. I feel like so. We will take that. Me and Martin have had this discussion loads of times, Mike. We can't come to a conclusive answer. Maybe you've got one. Adam Armstrong, is he a 9 or is he a midfielder or is he a winger? Like, we cannot work out where his best position is. For you, what's his best position?
Well, technically, he's a winger, isn't he? In terms of his pass, but I have to say, in terms of where I've seen him play best, when he was playing that deeper role against Plymouth, I thought he did phenomenal. Same when we had to change the system on Saturday. Looked great in that deeper role, and what a goal he scored as well. I mean, that was something else. Kind of made me think, where's that been? But yeah, and I think that's something positive that we can see with everyone on the pitch now. It's almost like Russell Martin's been able to get the best out of the players made available to him, which is kind of the perfect scenario for a manager. But yeah, I mean, I'd certainly seen more benefit in having Armstrong in a deeper role. Adam Armstrong is. We've got to be clear when we say these things, haven't we? Yeah, I would play him in that sort of progressive number 8 role, just because of how we're playing now in terms of that short, quick passing and sort of diving, sort of in and out kind of play. It's working a lot better with that rather than having him alienated up front, waiting for a long ball to be looped over the top. So yeah, for me, progressive number 8.
I like it. I
I
think a lot of people are coming to that conclusion, seeing how well he does the defensive stuff as well. I think he's been outstanding. Obviously made that last-ditch tackle against Plymouth, and he just seems to just battle his heart out, doesn't he, in the middle of the park all
challenging
the
against
time.
Norwich as well.
Yeah, against Norwich. Yeah, well, the one where he tracked about 70 yards and just
exactly.
Oh, what a challenge. Martin, so if we're all in sort of starting to agree that Armstrong's best position is a progressive 8, where does that leave us with Charlie, do you think? Because obviously Russell Martin's a massive fan of Adam Armstrong. He's made no secret of that whatsoever. Does that leave Charlie in a bit of a precarious position, do you think?
I think we got some like real selection dilemmas, certainly across the midfield, because you look at midfield, there's so many options in there now. I don't think there's no rumours about Charlie going anywhere. He was definitely out of sorts the weekend. Like, he didn't look the same player. There's obviously more to that. I don't think it's transfer related. He put a post out on his social media. I don't think it's no one's any stranger to it. Maybe something about his personal life, I think. I'm not sure how to translate it. But yeah, maybe there was a few things rumbling on in his life away from the game and just didn't look himself. But he's a key player for Saints, Charlie Alcaraz. I can't see him starting every single game because there's so many, and he have to rotate the squad once we start getting into Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesdays. So maybe he'll drop in and out, and maybe against sides that are a little bit more fluid, like Leicester, will he sort of bulk out the midfield and use Armstrong in those games? But Adam Armstrong was almost like the first name on a team sheet for me at the moment because he's been that good. He's been superb. Look at revelation as a player at the moment. Again, Russ Martin. I put credit to him. He's done this. He obviously, for a player, he would have come in and his confidence would have been on the floor because he's had a horrifically hard 2 years at the football club. He's probably played out of position. He's not felt comfortable. But all of a sudden, he just looks a different player. He looks energized. He looks fit. He tracks back. He's got his touch looks good, and he's scoring goals. Asmir said to me after the game, he said, Martin, the difference between the two sides probably was Adam Armstrong. He said, I'll tell you now, he'd get you 25 goals. He says that he is clinical, which he is. He's brilliant.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It took so long for it. I mean, when we first signed him, was it away at Everton? The first game, he stuck one in the top corner. We thought, oh my God, what's going on? We've signed a goal scorer, a proper goal scorer, but it didn't quite work out that way. And it's really nice to see him doing well. As long as he can keep doing well, it's beneficial for everyone here, isn't it? So, yeah, good on him, mate. Long may it continue. Let's talk about his partner in crime. They're clearly very close off the pitch, but work well on the pitch together as well. It's probably a fitting way to move into transfers, actually. Mike, do you see Shay Adams being a Southampton player come Saturday morning?
This has a lot to do with everything else going out elsewhere. I think if something happens at one of the other clubs, i.e. one of their strikers moves on, then we could see like a domino effect happening. But as I see at the moment, I'm kind of sort of 50-50 on it, because I think there's a chance he stays and there's a chance he goes. And I think for him, he's kind of thinking maybe he has to play at a Premier League club. Maybe he's got that in his mind. Just like us fans, we want to have our team play in the Premier League. All these players will want to play at the highest level. That's their goal and their ambition. If he goes somewhere like Wolves or Bournemouth and fights in a relegation scrap and struggles to get 4 goals in the entire season, I see that doing nothing for his stock. If he stays at Southampton, smashes in 25 goals, then that's really going to sort of, and we get promoted, then he's in a better position. But we'll certainly have to see what happens. I mean, I hear things about a loan deal. I hear things about a loan deal with him signing contract extension, but who knows? I don't really see how that makes sense in sense. But for the club itself, I can see them wanting to have a permanent deal put in place.
Yeah, I mean, to us laymen, it should be that simple, really, isn't it? But football's a tricky business, as we're told. Martin, your views on this, because again, you've been very strong throughout about the Shay Adams situation. Approaching the final days, is your mindset slightly shifting, knowing who could potentially be coming the other way, and seeing how we did without him at the weekend? Or are you still firmly the club should just 100% put their foot down and say, no, we're keeping Shay Adams? What's your move now? What are you thinking?
I'm torn, but the thought of who could come in does excite me, though he's injured at the moment. Ross Stewart, so that's a little bit of a concern. He's probably not going to be fit till October, they don't think. So that could be an issue. The whole Adams thing, I hate it when you've got a player that doesn't get selected. Russ might have made the right call, but a player's not getting selected because his mind's not on it. It really annoys me as a fan. He's paid huge sums of money by the football club. It's not professional at all by the player. Just get your head down, get on with your business. And if something happens. I just think to be distracted. I think even Martin went to say he was a little bit overweight last week or something along those lines. He wasn't in the condition really to be selected, and it's not good enough. I don't like the thought of that in a player. We're in a really difficult position because of the contract situation. If you let him go, you're going to lose 25 goals. He's worth 25 goals, I think. Him and Armstrong, there's 50 goals there. You'd probably let 18 goals go out with Teller. We still got to replace him, which he said they would. They're desperate for another winger, but it's a really difficult situation. I'm massively torn on it. Don't like how it transpired the weekend at all with him. It peed me off as a fan, to be quite honest. Nothing worse than a player not really wanting to play or his mind being in it. Almost thought, well, sod you, do one, sell him. But I still think we need to bring a striker in. We still might need 2. It's a difficult situation. We're still light in the striker department, unless they're going to give Ballard a chance. I think Mara done a lot better when he came on the weekend. For the first time this season, he actually looked like he'd give a bit more, but he bought into the way Russell wants him to play. He's been doing his own thing. He's not really bought into the way Russell wants his striker to play, but he did that on Saturday. So a little bit of hope there that Mara may be able to become a bit more of a squad player, because up till now he's not really shown anything. But I do think we are light in the striker department. I don't know what you two think.
It is an interesting one, isn't it? If Shay Adams does leave and we do get Ross Stewart, which by all accounts is going to be an unbelievable signing regardless of his injury record. Mike, do you think that Sekou Mara could really step up to it? Do you think that Don Ballard could potentially step up to it, given that Paul Noachu is clearly never going to play for us again? Till Paul, bless him. Do you think that we're going to have enough to get us through till Ross Stewart returns from injury? And that's even banking on the fact that he stays fit,
I mean, based on Saturday's performance, you could argue yes, but I'd be worried if we were just left with, if Adam Armstrong's going to be playing in a deeper role, then effectively our choice up front, if Shea was to go, touch wood, heaven forbid, that would leave us with Sakumara and Don Ballard, and I think there's a lot of promise in both those players, but it's a big leap to go from the French league for Sakumara. When he came into the club, he was supposed to be fourth choice striker, playing in the sort of reserves, to build up his confidence. So it was never an intention to have him as a number one choice. So as we've already alluded to, this player Ross Stewart coming in from Sunderland, should that deal get done, we're not going to see him till October by the sounds of it. But I would be worried if, just in terms of goals, if that was our only option. But there's a lot of if, buts, and maybe. And
yeah, huge amount. I am gonna not slightly burst the bubble on the whole Mara conversation, because I think you have got valid points, but it's just come through from the Athletic, and Martin's nodding because he's seen the same thing, that Sekou Mara is very close to now joining Werder Bremen on loan, with an option to make it permanent.
wow, okay,
so
that's news.
Yes, that is news, breaking right as we speak.
I would suggest two strikers come in then, because
we're
going to be leaving, or Shea stays.
Or we're certain Shea stays, because to put the pressure, let's talk about Don Ballard then on that.
Yeah, it's now number one. Congrats.
To put the pressure on him, Don Ballard's your number 9. If Adam Armstrong's playing deeper, would you make a Dom? I mean, he could. We've only really seen him in cup games so far, haven't we? Properly.
I really like Dom, and I think he's done a lot of great things in Premier League 2. He's looked very, very good. He scored hat-trick. He kind of plays into
on the first.
Yeah. Kind of plays into your question at the fan forum there, Josh, about having the Southampton way, having these players come up. So I think, but it's a lot to throw at him, and I think there's a lot of Saints fans that are kind of pushing for us going straight back up, and I would hate for it to be a situation where the lack of goals will be put firmly on his shoulders. I don't think that would be fair at all. I have no doubt that Don Ballard will go on to great things. I just haven't seen enough of him playing at the top level to say that he should be our first choice number 9. I really hope that's not the case. It's nothing against Dom at all, but it's just I don't think that would be fair for him to be put in that position. He might welcome it. Who knows? He's that kind of player that likes to challenge, and says he should be a selfish, arrogant striker, which there's a lot of merit in. But that'd be a lot for him. A lot.
Massive, wouldn't it? And as Alan Anson once said famously, he can't win anything with kids. So it's going to be interesting to see who we're getting in potentially. So the name that's on most Sunderland fans' lips right now, actually, Martin, is Ross Stewart. He is the number one. It seems to be the number one target for us up front. There have been other names mentioned previously, but obviously Joel Pirro did make the move to Leeds, which ruled him out. And yeah, I think Ross Stewart was then the forerunner. So that one looks quite likely now. He has been pictured in the airport, probably on his way down here, let's face it, to get it sorted. So first of all, should we lose Mara? We're definitely going to lose Onuachu, whether he's subjected to playing in the reserves for the rest of the year, or we do manage to finally get something sorted for him. Is it enough then? Is Ross Stewart enough, or does that solely depend on whether we keep Shea Adams or not?
Yeah, just going to leave us too light. If you think about the striker department, and that is what's going to get us promoted, is how many goals we're going to score. Can't be left with like Armour, Stewart, who's going to be injured for the first month. Yeah, and Ballard. It just won't be enough. If they sell Shea, they have to. I would imagine there's another striker coming. I would imagine if they're going to let Adams go. I just think it's a real crossroads for us and what we do here, because they're going to have to get it right. It's massive, because if they let Adams go on loan to Wolves and we don't get promoted, Sport Republic will be under massive pressure. It causes them all sorts of problems, because we're going to be reliant on goals. We're going to need goals, and you know what it's been like over the last few years. We found goals so freaking hard to come by. But all of a sudden, we've got a striker in Armstrong that's going to score a bag of goals, and Adams was flying till his agents got busy and pulling him from pillar to post, from what Russell Martin said. And his agent is busy. You can see his agent is busy, and he's got noises, and it's just not good, because he's the sort of player that'd be so good for us. It really, I think Mike said it earlier in the show, it did increase his stock staying here in the Champ, banging a load of goals in. What are you going to go to Wolves for? They'll probably get relegated. They look awful at times. I saw them the other week, and they're a side that are going to really struggle. They've sold their best player today. They're not going anywhere. They're going backwards as a club at the moment. So they're not spent a load of money. It's just, I just don't see it as a great move. And go to Bournemouth, is he going to be number one there? No, he wouldn't be. So I just think he'd be better staying personally. But I'm worried about the striker department. Like, it does worry me.
Yeah, it is a slight concern. Another position of concern that Russell Martin said is high on the priority list is that Teller replacement. Mike, name been mentioned currently is Paintsel from Genk, where we are supposedly sending Paul back to. So, I mean, what would you make of that one? It'd be our first, I think, if I'm right, our first non-British signing, or at least British Isles signing of the summer. Probably more on the riskier scale, but what do you make of it? Do you think that would be a positive move for all parties? Do you think we'd be on the better end of that deal?
I don't know. If I'm completely honest, I think this Joseph Paintsel deal is on, is off, is on, is off. You know, it's like a light switch at the moment. It's but any deal that a club is kind of keen to get on Nuacho back makes me nervous. You know, if you're willing to take, I mean, he might suit that league absolutely perfect. He might suit their system absolutely perfect. Perhaps that's really unfair of me to say, but you know, it just sounds to me like this player's agent, I should say, rather, is trying to sort of leverage a deal to England somehow, you know, whether that be to Leeds, whether it be to Burnley, whether it be to Southampton. So that's the only thing that kind of sort of freaks me out about that, because it's, you know, it's just more about the player getting eyeballs on him rather than him playing for Southampton. Perhaps that's naive of me to say as well, because they're probably all like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I've seen this Paintsel guy play absolutely loads of football. I haven't, but you know, if the hierarchy think that he's the right sort of player to replace Teller, then let's have a look. But you know, it's a case of who else is out there. You know, we haven't really heard many other rumours of other right-sided wingers. So that's, you know, if he's the only name on the list, I'm a little bit concerned on that regard as well. But who knows? Who knows?
Who knows, indeed. Like we say, we had no idea that that Mr. Fraser was heading down south until Eddie Howe had his press conference that morning.
Yeah.
You never know, do you? You really do never know. Martin, while we're on Ghanaian wingers, we've got one of our own that we have seen play a bit more. Kamaldeen Sulemana. His agents made a shed load of noise this week, specifically yesterday through the mouthpiece of the Athletic, saying he wants to leave. I've said a couple of times, I'm not overly convinced of it from personal, what I can physically see in real life. Having sat behind, if you didn't catch up last episode, I sat behind him, directly in the row behind him at the Bournemouth game, and he was so emotionally invested in that pre-season friendly. He kicked and headed every single ball where Sekumara had his head in his phone sat next to him. So it's hard for me to sit here and say he definitely wants to leave when he was clearly involved. Now, whether that's just because he loves football or not, I don't know. But I mean, personally, it's hard for me to believe that he's on strike, given he's such a young man and he's earning big money anyway. Doubt he would have been on one of those relegation clauses, especially with knowing who he could lose. So it's a tricky one. Martin, how do you view the Kamaldeen situation? If we keep him, is that almost like a signing in itself?
It would be a signing in itself if he decides to stay at the football club. They won't let him go unless they get 30 million from him anyway, because I think that's the target they want. I think they're going to find it hard to get 30 million from him. I've got to be quite honest. I can't imagine them doing a loan for him. But I think he'd be a great player for us. I just think in this league he could really find his feet in England, settle here, but again, he'll have another busy agent. He'll have an agent in his ear, and they'll be trying to drum up loads of interest for him. I've had loads of Everton fans ask me about him, so there's obviously a lot of rumours around him and Everton. He's not featured a lot in pre-season. I know that Russell Martin has spoke about him coming back fit and ready to play. I don't know if he is fit and he's ready to play. I thought he was kind of targeting in the press conference last week that he would be ready for Sunderland. I'm under that impression that he would be involved against Sunderland at the weekend. Unless someone comes in with 30 million, I don't think Everton are going to spend 30 million on him. So where does he go? But yeah, he's a winger. We wouldn't need to go and sign a winger, really. You wouldn't think if we kept him. But it's a big if, isn't it? What happens in the next couple of days?
Yeah, big if, and it's hard to say what his preferred side is really. Whether he's right, left, or down. Whether he prefers cutting in down the middle. It's really hard, isn't it? Didn't really see enough of him last season. We signed a winger under a system that doesn't play wingers, so it was really odd signing. I'm not complaining about it because he's clearly got talent, and if you do manage to keep him and play him for a few years, there's no doubt he can do it. He's outstanding. Let's talk about centre backs because there's been a lot of sort of turnover. So we lost Lianco this week. To Qatari outfit, which was on loan, I believe. But the way he sort of worded his goodbye, there's probably an obligation in there. Bella Kotchap's another one. Mike, he seems to be on his way out, and we've emerged to be replacing him with someone I'm extremely impressed with. But a quick word on Bella Kotchap before we move on to his potential replacement. Do you think that obviously it would be a shame, but do you think that the move is right for us? Should we get the right obligation from either Dortmund or Bayern? It's looking more like Dortmund at this point.
Yeah. Do you know what a fee is? What they're talking about? So
They're talking about 20 million euros.
Okay.
With a sell-on clause. So much more than we paid for him with a sell-on clause, basically. Almost double our money.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird one. I mean, I think with the likes of Bella Kotchap and also Suleiman, I put in this price in this bracket as well, is the fact that if they go, I'm not really that bothered. It might sound absolutely mad, but if they were both to go, then that's 50 million quid. Yeah, and it's like, if we can get 30 million for Sulemana, okay, fine, do it. I think we've got enough cover on that left side. Same with like Bella Kopchak. In terms of who we're bringing in the defensive positions, Mason Holgate's there. Bednarek's looked good. It looks like he's staying completely. Jack Stevens is the captain, so he's going to be featured a lot. So it's almost like if the money's there for them, then I would say, yeah, take it, and it's not like we've seen a lot of these players pre-season and in the 4 games that have been played so far. And have they been missed? Not really. You could argue maybe the defensive roles could be a bit more shored up, but that would mean that our captain would be on the bench. I'm not overly concerned. Obviously, if we just got enough backup in those positions, then I'm absolutely fine with it. So I'm relaxed about those ones. It's the complete polar opposite to the Shea Adams situation. So that's what I'm worried about. I've got enough worries in my life for the rest of the team. Yeah,
chill with the back line. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, chill with the back line. So okay, that's cool. I like it. So I think it's a good time then to talk about his potential replacement in the England under-21s skipper, Taylor Harwood-Bellis. He won the league last year with Burnley. There was lots of Premier League interest, but again, possibly just agent jargon and pushing it out in the media, trying to get him out of City because he needs games. This is a key period of his career. So, do you think that's? I mean, Mike, would you make of the signing? First of all, if we get it over the line, would you make of him as a player? Would you be happy with it? And then, moving on from that, would you like to see us sign another loan player with no option? Because it seems to be the way this season so far.
Yeah, I absolutely love the signing, and I think it sort of puts into relation the other signings that we made about players that know this kind of a system, play this kind of football, and know the league, and know what it takes to win the championship. All those kind of things will certainly pay into favour. And I'm not overly worried about having, loan players with no option to buy, because let's not kid ourselves. We're not in the Premier League at the moment. That's kind of the luxury that you have in the higher leagues, and it's if this person comes in, does a job, gets us over the line, great. he's done what he was supposed to do. If he comes in and we've signed him on a long deal and it doesn't pay off, oh no, we've got a player on high wages that's got a large fee attached to him. So it's a win-win. I don't really understand the panic on it's only a loan. So that wouldn't bother me at all. So yeah, no, very, very impressed.
Good. It's what we like to hear. Martin, talking about impressed. Let's talk about some more rumours. Tom Cannon, Everton. We've got other links. Patrick Roberts was linked as well from Sunderland. Nathan Wood from Swansea was a strong one. Have you said? I can't say I've seen a lot of Tom Cannon, but what do you make of all these rumours? If you could round them up for us.
It looks like we're definitely bringing another centre back by the looks of things. Potentially, I was told yesterday it could be 2, which would give us a lot of depth. That's for sure. Nathan Wood, they seem really keen on. They've already put a bid in for him, which is rejected. I'm sure they're going to go back again. If they're putting bids in, they obviously really want the player. They're probably still negotiating with that one. But then there's talk of Hayward Bellis as well, and they reckon he's outstanding. You talk to any Burnley fan that watched him last year, they reckon he was brilliant. They say he's Premier League ready. It's Premier League ready player. So if we get him, that's an absolute steal.
West Ham were really keen on him.
Sorts out at the back, but where does everyone fit in? They can end up with a lot of defenders to play with, but then Mason Holgate can play at right back if needed. So if we have issues at right back, he use him as an inverted right back. He fit that role quite well, you would think, because if he's technically good on the ball, he'll fit into the system. I thought we haven't really touched upon it, but Walker Peters I thought played well the weekend. Don't really want him going. There hasn't been any noise around him at all.
The silence is deafening on Carl Peters.
Exactly, same as Roman Perro that come out of left field and nowhere, and boom, it was done. So it is a bit.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what happens really with that situation. I hope that we do keep hold of Walker Peters, but if we keep him to January, we'd be doing really, really well. If we can get to Jan in good shape, I think we'll be okay. We've got a really hard month coming. I think the next block of fixtures after this international break are going to really test us. To have to play Leicester and Ipswich is going to be mighty, mighty tough. They're two good sides. I've watched both of them a fair bit. I watched quite a bit of Ipswich. They're free flow inside. They look really good. They come up with confidence and they're just going to keep that rolling. So yeah, we're in for a really tough 48 hours, aren't we, boys? I'm kind of like I'm drained already.
Strap in. Yeah. So on KWP, I think it's tough in it because, like we say, the Roman Perro won't come out of nowhere. But hopefully, no news is good news right now with him, because he is so perfect for the way we play. I think you can see he's clearly enjoying playing the way we're playing, and winning football matches is giving him confidence again, because last season we were all shattered by what we had to go through. Mike, if we can keep Walker Peters at least until January, surely that's going to give us a huge leg up. I mean, what do you think? We missed out on Max Aarons, which would have been a clear replacement.
Mm-hmm.
We lost Tino. That right back, if we lose him at this stage, that could be detrimental, couldn't it? Surely.
Yeah, massive. I mean, maybe if we'd signed Max Aarons, it would have sort of spelled a bit of a worse picture of what's going to happen to Kyle Walker-Peters. I mean, I think the fact that there hasn't been any kind of rumblings of anyone else in that position, it's been one or two, but not really anything of any kind of substance. Of course, that could all change in the next few minutes as we're all scrolling Twitter the way we are. But yeah, he's phenomenal. I mean, he's definitely Premier League quality. I mean, there's 6 months ago, Man United was sniffing around him. Say
it quietly.
Reports of all kind of clubs being in for him. So, I mean, I'm going to be amazed if we, come to the end of play tomorrow night at midnight and Kyle Walker-Peters is still a Southampton player. I mean, that should be a celebration in itself. For most Saints fans, that we've been able to keep hold of him over the summer transfer window. So yeah, no, massive for the Southampton side. Clearly enjoying his football a lot more, playing this new system. Got really frozen out, I think, in the kind of, especially the one we do not speak of, Nathan Jones kind of era. But to see him playing the way he is great to see in that kind of like much more forward kind of a role. So I hope I'm right, but I'd really love to see Carball Peters still in the Saints shirt tomorrow night.
Absolutely, as would I, and I think everyone at Southampton. Even if you keep him till January, it gives you a few extra months to line your replacement up and gives him some time to play some football and enjoy himself. So yeah, I think that would just be wonderful. Let's try and move on slightly from the stress, because I could move on and talk about players we're going to be stuck with, but that just stressed me out again. So let's move on to the weekend's fixture. Sunderland away. Absolutely dreadful timing. Thank you, EFL and Sky, for doing that. You absolute tosspots. Martin, what do you make of Tony Mowbray Sunderland? They've obviously lost their main man, who we were linked with in the summer, and if I'm honest, I think would have been the perfect Teller replacement had he not got a horrific injury. Amad Diallo. So they're missing him. They made a few free signings, but apart from that, I don't see, touch wood, I don't see too much of a threat that we can't get past them. What do you make of it all? You're on mute, Martin. Sorry, mate.
But we agreed with everything.
We agree with everything you said, but just repeat it louder for everyone to hear.
Sorry, I was chatting to a Sunderland fan a couple of days ago, and he made some really interesting points. He just said they don't score any goals. He said they're just so lightweight up front. He said they just don't look like scoring. So that's good news going into the game. Mowbray's, he said, is under a little bit of pressure. The fans don't particularly like him. Obviously, like you said, they lost a key man from last season who scored them a load of goals, and it'd be interesting. They've only got 4 points from 4 games, so they've not had a very good start at all. They won't want to play us the weekend, that's for sure. The fellow I was chatting to, he was dreading it. He said, you're out passers. He said, you're technically a really good side, and we could cause them a lot of problems. I just like us to keep. It's a perfect place to try and get a clean sheet, isn't it? Get a clean sheet. It's much, much needed now against a side that's really toothless in attack. But just, I think it's Bellingham there. Jude Bellingham, brother.
Yeah, his brother. Yeah, Joe Bellingham
Scored a couple of goals for them, I think.
Yeah.
I believe. He looks a bit of a menace. It's be interesting to see what he's like at the weekend. Still really young, but I've seen a little bit of Sunderland, not loads. I just think it's a place we got to go and win. Especially when you look at the other fixtures. I was looking at who's playing who this weekend, and I believe Leicester have another banker. Really, they've had a fairly steady start, haven't they, in terms of who they've been playing. Who they got the weekend? They have Leicester got Hull at home. Probably expect them to win that one. They've had some good home games, haven't they? Really, they've had such a good start. No, we've only dropped the 2.
Shame is we're going to be Leicester's biggest game of the season up to date, and it's going to be on a Friday night, and they're going to be bang up for it. So you know how that sort of thing goes. But, no, I agree, man. I'm just scrolling Twitter now. Another one's come in. It looks like Harvard Bellis is about to be done, but Burnley have launched a last-minute move for Pencil, as Mike said earlier. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off.
It's off.
It's on now. So it's off now, boys. So we forget about it. We do forget about it. Sunderland, Mike. Who are we? We're doing this thing at the moment where I'm asking Martin, and I'm asking Rob Maddox, and I'm asking our guests to guess our star performer of the week. And we're putting a little table together. The guests are currently in front. It's been the chaps from the Daily Echo, Alfie and George at the minute. It's a star performer. It's based on player ratings in the game. So just a little thing for you to think about just before we go. I'll ask you to get your brain ticking.
Okay.
But for now, I mean, Martin mentioned. I mean, I winced, but if you watch the video, Martin mentioned the dreaded clean sheet. I mean, we are going to be everybody's one of their biggest games of the season. Can you see us keeping a clean sheet in the Stadium of Light?
Based on their previous performances, and they're sort of struggling to score, I'd agree that's probably our best opportunity to do so. But it's the Stadium of Light; it's an intimidating place to go. I'd love us to. And if we're solidified in defence, and they know the system well, how well Mason Holgate, how much time he's had with Russell Martin and the coaching staff, you'd sort of argue that he'd probably be definitely starting. But with all the disruption, I mean, we thought last Saturday was bad. I think this Saturday is going to be even worse. The fact that we're going to be, perhaps 13 hours after, 13 hours when kickoff commences would have been who we know is actually in the side. So all kinds of things can be going on. But I'd like to think that we could do it. I mean, we're certainly due one. I didn't think we were that far away from it with QPR, if I'm honest. I mean, there were a couple. Okay, they smashed the woodwork. They had 1-on-1 with the keeper. They had more shots on target than us. But that could have been a clean sheet quite easily. It was just a kind of a freakish, good strike on target. So, yeah, I'd like us to do it. Whether or not it'll happen, I don't want to jinx it, so I won't say it. But yeah, it could.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Yeah, these wonder goals and posting ins are Bazuni's worst nightmare at the minute, isn't it? Martin, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I want to get your thoughts on the whole transfer window thing. I think everyone does sing off the same hymn sheet with this, but I mean, is it not just lunacy that we're kicking off at 12:30 on the Saturday? We're traveling the day before, and we could end up with people that you want to put on the bus that just don't know whether they can get on the bus. Do you know? I mean, it's how outlandish is that? I mean, it's ludicrous. What's your thoughts?
It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. The whole thing's a disgrace. Like let's touch upon the first thing. Our game being up there at 12:30, one of the longest trips of the season, is utter madness. Who thinks it's acceptable? Who thinks that's acceptable for football fans? Would they want to televise it with hardly any away fans there? Because it's just not fair on the paying fan. It needs to be looked into. These people don't get questioned though, do they? Dish out money, just do what they want. Sod the fans. There's no thoughts for the fans. I could go on and on about it, but the transfer window closing when it does, it's just a nightmare situation. That the season's like near a month old. Would have played 5 games, and the transfer window's been opened. It's just so much noise to navigate through this month. Russell Martin's done incredible. Wilcox as well, but Martin is the manager because he's got to take the flak. He's got to try and select sides. He's got to put it together. And God, he's got a real tough task on his hands because, like you say, who's going to be on the plane come tomorrow when they fly up? He said they fly up tomorrow. They travel tomorrow morning. So, like, Adams, what's the chances he's going to fly? Unlikely, isn't it, that he's going to be there? And it's just like, it just makes it so difficult, doesn't it, for everybody? But Sky these people need calling out. They just don't get called out.
Well, they do. What they need is a good fucking punch across the jaw. I agree. It's an absolute disgrace the way they deal with it. Mr. Townswell has just dropped the bomb that we have officially agreed a deal to sign Ross Stewart from Sunderland. 8 million plus 4 million in add-ons. So it's a little bit more in add-ons than we thought.
Great news. Great news.
Yeah. Good. So it looks like Ross County are going to be getting a cut from the transfer, which was his old side. So fair play to him. That's a bit of a weird one for him. He's going to have to come from Tyneside down south and then back up, for the game on Saturday to watch it. So fair play to him. He's going to be getting some air miles in over the next couple of days. Also serious interest in Patrick Roberts, but we'll see how that works. I mean, you'd like to think that Shay Adams is going to have made his decision, and that's probably private right now. He's probably made the decision, probably knows what's going to happen. If he doesn't, then that's just unbelievable. Last minute stuff. Right, yeah. So to wrap up, Mike, as we're doing this season, you've had a little bit of time to think now. I don't usually give people this grace, but since it's your brace of coming on, we'll give you a bit of time. What do you think then? Who's going to be? Let's have a score prediction, but the one that matters is the star performer. Who's going to be our best? Our best player at the weekend?
Star performer, I'm going to go with Adam Armstrong again. I think that's, I was toying with Flynn Downs maybe, but just in terms of how many players we've got in midfield, we'll have to wait and see on that. So I'm going to go Adam Armstrong as the star performer. And as for a score, I'm going to go with that clean sheet. And I'm going to say a 2-0 Saints win.
I love it. That would be stunning. Martin, You've had also some time to think on this. Go on. Do you want to hit us with your prediction and your star performer?
Really boring actually for me, because I feel like Adam Armstrong's in just too much good form at the moment. So I was going to go Mason Holgate because I think Mason will start. I think he'd be good, but I don't know if he's going to get tested enough at the weekend to be a star performer. But I think Adam Armstrong's in too much form not to back at the moment. So Adam's Armstrong for me. I think he'll score. I'm going to go. I thought 2-0 before Mike said as well. I'm just going to go 2-0. I know it's really bad copying Mike, but that's how I felt. I feel it'd be a 2-0. I think we'll keep a clean sheet. I think we'll do a clean sheet. Live on Sky. Yeah, let's have it.
Let's have it. Yeah, sounds great. And I've just read that Leicester City and Southampton are both keen on signing Tom Cannon from Everton before Friday's deadline. But I will mention, this is from Football Insider, which is a really poor source. If you use Twitter, not Twitter, sorry, formerly known as Twitter, if you use X.
Is that what it's called? X. It's actually called X.
It's actually
okay.
called X.
Right.
It's ludicrous. But if you actually use it, please head over to Southampton page, where there is a reliability guide pinned to the profile. I'll give them a shout out because the work they do is fantastic. They've got tiers on who to trust, and I tell you, Football Insider's not one of them. So, if you want to know who to trust during the window, which is, I know there's not long left, but even throughout the season, go and drop them a follow because they are fantastic. And on that, if you do enjoy what we do, please do drop a sub to the channel because it does really help out. Shows us your support, makes all of this worthwhile. Yeah, Mike, thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, whilst I'm on the guest, they will also be linked in the description of not only on Twitter but on Spotify, all of those, and on YouTube as well. So you can go and check them out there. If you love Saints, if you love football, Mike and Martin are both worth following, and especially the MatchDayVlogs YouTube channel. They are, in my opinion, the best matchday vloggers in the EFL.
I love it. I love it.
So
I'm honoured. Thank you so much for that.
No, absolutely
really
not. So yeah, go over there and check them out. They're fantastic. I'm sure you already have. But
likewise, make sure everyone's smashing the subscribe button on this, because the fact that Josh doesn't have 1,000 subs yet is criminal. Get on with it. Smash it. Share it around. Honestly.
Get on with it. Right. Yeah. On that note, I think it's a fantastic time to end. Gentlemen, we're in for a stressful 24 hours. I'm going to let you get some beauty sleep. Thanks for joining us. Thank you very much, everyone.
Cheers, boys.